What's going on? It's time for another episode of Too Hard for the Radio, transmitting from the future free state of Greater Idaho, where I'm having all kinds of issues today. I am the one-armed madman, and back with me from the great country of China, we've got Tim Doyle. Tim, it's a pleasure to have you back on. We've had nothing but problems for the past few weeks, so let's hope that we're back on the line this time.
Well, Nick, thank you for the invitation. Always enjoy sharing the teachings of the Golden Ones with whoever is interested in learning about life on Earth here. So go ahead.
And I'm really interested. I think like I listened back to the first interview we did, and I didn't do a great job. It was one of my early interviews, so I thought, you know what, let's do this again. And so, like, let's just start it from the beginning. How did you come in contact with the Golden Ones? Like, how is contact, established? Would be a good place to start, I think.
Okay. Nick, ever since I was little, I was raised Catholic. I was an altar boy. I wanted to become a priest. I joined the seminary up at St. Andrew's Seminary in Rochester, New York. I spent a year there, and I was disillusioned with the way the priests conducted classes and how they treated the students. So I decided it was not the environment I wanted to stay in. So then I just went to public high school, did my military assignment, got married. I was raised Catholic, altar boy. I was always religious. To God, I appreciated God. In my heart, I felt very close to God for whatever reasons. And then I had a psychic reading when I was I think I was 21. And she told me that, I asked her, how does she do what she's doing? And she says, through meditation. Anybody can be psychic if you meditate. So I went home, started meditating, and I started to have some very I won't say unusual, but very spiritual experiences, like raising the Kundalini and having an out-of-body experience, and just hearing things in my mind about thoughts that got me thinking. So one day during meditation, I came home from work. It was 3:30 in the afternoon. I sat down and meditated, and all of a sudden, my mind's eye opened up and a golden light beam appeared to me. So clear, like I'm looking at you right now, Nick. I mean, the vision in my mind was crystal clear of this being. It wasn't like, oh, close your eyes and think of a tree and, oh, yeah, I see a tree. No, this was an actual vision in my mind of this golden light being. And he was beautiful, dressed in golden robes, radiating golden light around him, and he reached up to his neck, and he took a necklace off his neck, and it floated from him to me. He put the necklace around my neck, etherically, and when he did, there was a tingling sensation through my body, and that was it. This was back in 1983. So I kind of, remembered this situation. I went out and had a necklace made, basically of the same symbol. It's an inverted triangle. At the time, I had it made gold, but I changed it to multivite crystal because multivite is it's a crystal from out from beyond the Earth environment. So that was fine, and I continued my practice, spiritual practice. I would continue to meditate. And then I was guided to become an ordained metaphysical minister. Then that was in 86, and that lasted from 82 to 86. That lasted for about 4 years.
Just for some context, that's the year I was born, for everybody listening. So continue.
And what year was that, Nick?
86. I was born in 86.
86.
So you've been at this for a long time.
Well, you're just a young little guy.
I am. I'm 39 or 38. I'm going to be 39.
Yeah, I was going to say 38.
Yeah.
When's your birthday?
Yeah.
What month?
February 8th. February the 8th.
February the 8th. So you're Aquarian.
Uh-huh.
Ah, very good. Which are spiritually motivated or individuals, Aquarians. Their heart is for humanity and the welfare of others, and they're very compassionate people. So anyways, this continued. I became a metaphysical minister, and I was guided to do that by my teachers. And at the time, I thought my teachers were the White Brotherhood. So I aligned with them, and I studied their teachings and so forth. And then I was a runner, and I had to stop running when I moved to a new location in 2005. So I started to do yoga. And in 2008, after doing yoga in my basement for 3 years, I decided to become a Kundalini yoga instructor. And I went out to Hawaii, studied for 30 days, and was certified as a Kundalini yoga instructor. And Nick, what this did to me, we're not taught how to breathe. We breathe by thinking we just inhale, but that's not how you breathe. You can either breathe up, inhaling into your lungs, but it doesn't oxygenate your brain. You need to breathe down into your diaphragm. And when you breathe down in your diaphragm and exhale through your nose, it relaxes any tension in the body. And at the same time, it oxygenates your brain. So by becoming a Kundalini yoga instructor, it taught me how to breathe and to relax the body. And then between 1986 and 2005, I became a Reiki master and went through that routine. And it was all being guided by my teachers to do this, and do that. And then in 1999, I came home from work, and my teachers told me to take a trip. So I says, okay, where should I go? And they said, go study with a shaman. Now, these are thoughts I get in my mind, what to do. Now, anybody can, it's like your mind, we know we can connect to the internet and get any information we want from the internet. But when you learn to connect to the internet, the universal mind, anybody can get any answer they want from I'll say the spiritual internet, just by asking a question and waiting for the answer. And so you establish a communications with your spiritual teachers. So they told me to take a trip with a shaman. And so I got on the internet, and in 10 minutes, I scheduled a trip to go to work with the shamans in Peru, Iquitos, Peru, with the shamans, a 10-day trip. I didn't know what I was getting into or anything until I got there in December 22nd, 1999, and found out I was going to drink the ayahuasca.
Yeah, that's where I knew you were going there.
And the thing was, I flew into Iquitos. There were 16 of us. We got in a boat, and we went up down the Amazon River, and went up this river deep into the jungle. Got out, no electricity, no running waters. And as we were getting off the boat, someone said, Howard, who was the American board shaman who was conducting this little ritual we were going through, they said, Howard, when are we going to drink the ayahuasca? And I go, what? And they said, yeah. I couldn't even pronounce it, Nick. I couldn't pronounce the word ayahuasca. And they said, yeah, we came here to drink the ayahuasca. And, I kind of like thought.
Scary.
Well, not really. I knew that my teachers must have been laughing that they got me to go in this situation.
Oh, I got you. Oh, that's good.
I couldn't get out of it. I'm in a boat in the middle of the Peruvian jungle, and it's like, okay, what do I do? Okay, I gotta drink the ayahuasca. So I drank the ayahuasca, and it was such a spiritual experience that for the next 5 years, I returned to Peru and for 10 days and did the exact same thing. So that was from 2000 to 2005. And many teachings were taught to me during the drinking of the ayahuasca, and some of it I didn't understand at the time, but I just filed it away that, okay, all right, all right, all right. And then I was in New Zealand, southern New Zealand in 2012, right before, I don't know if you remember 2012, 21 December
Hmm.
2012. It was supposed to be the end of the
Oh yeah,
world or something like that.
Mayan calendar. Yeah, it was the Mayan
Yeah.
end of the Mayan calendar.
Well,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was the end of the Mayan calendar. It was the end of the our solar system orbiting the galactic center of the Milky Way. And what it did is it moved the Earth from a third dimension reality into a fifth dimension reality. And what it did, and not too many people know this, it started the Golden Age. And the Golden Age, Nick, is where souls do not have to die as long as they live in a consciousness of love and compassion, which is the fifth dimension reality. And everybody on the planet will migrate to the fifth dimension vibrational frequency. And if they do, they'll continue living and learning. And if they resist it, they will die and then return again under parents that will give them the correct parental guidance of love and compassion and so forth. So I'm in southern New Zealand, October, and I'm doing a meditation at the time. And in my mind's eye, I feel a group of spirits coming into my meditation. And I've had visitations before, so it wasn't like anything new to me. Just asked, I said, "Who are you?" And they said, "We come to join you." So I just thought they were coming to join my meditation at the time. So I says,
Mhm.
well, I welcomed them and thanked them and so forth. Now, what happened was these were these were the members of the Golden Ones. And because Earth was in a third dimension reality that started about 10 or 11,000 years ago, the vibration on the Earth was so negative that the Golden Ones couldn't stay there. They were teaching back in Lemuria, back, I don't know, 11, 12,000 years ago. And then
I know Lemuria.
when Earth plunged into a third dimension reality, the vibration was so dense because it's an ego, low vibrational frequency that they had to leave and watch it from a distance. They couldn't come back to the school at that time. So then, which I didn't know this at the time. And so that was October. And then I get back in my home January of 2012. Yeah, it was 2013. And I do my Kundalini yoga in the morning, my asana. And when I do my stretches, you're stretching there, and you hold a position for an asana position for maybe 1 or 2 minutes until you get a good stretch. And then that's when I talk to my teachers. I have nothing else to do, so I talk to my teachers. And so they would tell me things at that time. And well, I'll tell you, Nick, what they told me. They said, you will become a world spiritual teacher. And I laughed at them. Nick, I remember laughing out loud saying, what is it that I am going to tell people that they're going to listen to me, like what hasn't been already taught around the world about spiritual teachings, that anyone would listen to me compared to what has been going on taught in the world for the past thousands of years. So I kind of laughed about them and I shrugged it off. And 2 days later, at 2:30 in the morning, they got me up at 2:30 in the morning and they told me go to my computer and write whatever I heard. So I went to my computer and whatever I heard in my mind, I would type it. And then when I got done typing it, I read it and I said, how should I sign? I says, I can't take responsibility for this writing. How should I sign it? And they said, sign it the Golden Ones. So that's when they first formally introduced themselves to me in January of 2013 as the Golden Ones. So then every day after that, they would wake
Can
me.
I ask a quick question
Sure,
about that?
go right ahead.
So yeah, so you're not the only person that I've heard of who's gotten these teachings. Were you aware of the golden ones before you got that message, or was that like that's kind of what I was thinking? It's like, oh, this is something new, but then you look around and you're not the only person who's had that introduction, correct?
Well, no, I didn't know of the golden ones, and to be honest with you, Nick, I don't know anybody else that does the teachings
Oh,
of
okay.
the.
Okay. I'm confused then. I was thinking of maybe I'm thinking of something else.
Yeah,
I
I'm not
apologize.
aware,
Keep going.
I'm not aware,
Okay.
and if someone is, I'd like to meet them, or I'd like to,
Yeah.
share information with them, because what they have taught me is that I'm supposed to teach humanity these same gifts. And they're very easy things to follow, but you've got to be in the right frame of mind to want to embrace this. So they
The
started,
Ten Commandments are very easy as well. Like the Ten Commandments are very easy as well, but people have a really hard time following them.
yes, they do. And the thing is if you can't keep man's law, how are you going to keep God's laws? So that started in 2013 about their teachings. And the thing about their teachings is anything that I would write at 2:30 in the morning, I would experience later on in that day to authenticate that what they told me was true. I mean, it was just like, oh, okay, we wrote this, and then during the day I would experience it, and I'd say, oh, okay, now I know what you're saying, and so forth. And then some of the teachings would go back to when I was doing the ayahuasca. I would have a
Mhm.
vision, and it would come up to what happened. And one, Nick, very important, which is the most important teaching that they taught me, is that fears. A person that has fears, what they are. And I had a vision during the ayahuasca of a light body, an image of a light body, and there were lines, golden lines going through the light body, crisscrossing up and down, that made up the light body. And on the light body were black gobs of a gook. And that filament of the light body couldn't vibrate or resonate to the highest vibration because that black gob was on the light body. So that was back in probably 2005. I had that vision. Then I was in Sydney, Australia, in the beginning of 2012. It was January of 2012, and Thoth, the Egyptian god, was channeled through, and he says, "I'm going to teach you how to remove fears out of your to remove fears out of your life." He didn't explain it in the sense that where the fear is located or anything like that. And he gave us the prayer. I forget what he called the prayer. Maybe it was called the prayer to remove fears. And I took that prayer in 2012 and I went home and I started working with it. And I was visited by Arcturians, entities from the seventh dimension Arcturians who are masters of emotions. And they explained to me that all fears are parasites. They're living organisms that are designed to hold the soul's vibration down so that the soul cannot vibrate at their highest frequency, and which prevents the soul from allowing their dreams and desires to come true. And
So
so
it's like
then,
an engine with gunk in it, like an engine that's got gunk stuck in it that's making everything work slower and not fire at the same time. If you got a little bit of gunk in your engine, your firing order gets off, and pretty soon your car don't run.
well, here's what it is, Nick, is that you have a conscious mind and a
Uh-huh.
subconscious mind. Your conscious mind is like a VCR recorder. It records everything you see, and what it does, your conscious mind can only hold one thought at a time. So as we're viewing this and you're listening to me and you're hearing me, you can't be thinking about what you had for breakfast. No. If you did, you'd have to take your attention off from what you're doing now and think about breakfast. So your conscious mind is, the purpose of your conscious mind is to observe everything, and what you find to be truth and knowledgeable, you restore that in your subconscious mind for later extraction. So if Nick, if I said to you, what's 7 times 7?
49.
You didn't even have to think about it. You didn't have
automatic.
You didn't have to go 7 plus 7 plus 7. Automatically, that number was in your subconscious mind, and you just extracted it. All right. So that's the difference of the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind is designed to hold anything that the conscious mind validates as a truth or knowledge. Okay? So when a soul experiences something like almost drowning, that appears as a truth to the soul. So the soul will file a fear of water into their subconscious mind is a fear which prevents the soul from vibrating at a higher frequency. If the soul says, let's go to the beach, and automatically the fear of water comes into the conscious mind, it stops the soul from vibrating of happiness or anything like that, and it goes into a fear mode, which slows down the vibratory being of the soul. Right? So there's
that makes total sense to me. That makes perfect sense to me.
Okay.
And I've got a great example of this. If you want to let me kind of explain something for a second. When you were talking about the 3 to 5D change in 2012, that's a very interesting time period for me because I was a drug addict from like 2008 or 2007 until like 2012. And I got clean in 2012 and I completely changed my life. I went from being a piece of shit, criminal to going to AA and practicing, things like telling the truth and loving your family and being there for the people around you. And I ended up getting hurt. I got electrocuted working on power lines in 2015. And I died, I think. I was up on a pole, so it's not like there was somebody to check my pulse or something like that. But I went somewhere. I was gone. Wherever I was, it was not here. And I don't remember any of it. And it feels to me like I could have been gone for 5 minutes or 5 million years. It wasn't like getting knocked out normally. And when you talked about people changing and being able to live instead of die and live to learn and things like that, it was kind of jarring to me because I feel like that is how my life has played out since 2012.
Interesting.
It is, right? Like I couldn't help but think about that when you were talking about that. It's like, man, that's that time frame, the way I changed my life in the direction that I changed it in. That's probably why I'm still here. Why somebody, the main guy, thought, hey, let's give this guy another chance or the soul another chance. I don't know. It's just something that is very jarring to me.
Well, so you have these fears. And now, Nick, do you have any fears?
Oh, I was going to bring that one up too. So we did this the first time on the podcast where you showed me this fear, and I've been using that for a while. I have a dog who I love, more than he's my best friend. And I've had him since I got hurt. We spent every day together, and he's like 8, 9 years old now. So he's starting to get older, and it just makes me sad, that he's going to be gone at some point. It makes me very sad. I'm sure you can hear it. And I pray for that to, lift that, get that out of me so I can enjoy the time we have instead of dreading the inevitable.
Exactly. Well, fears are like removing a bad photo from your camera. from your cell phone. Um, some people go to a psychiatrist for months to get rid of their fears, when all they have to do is it takes like 2 seconds to remove a bad photo from your phone, and it takes
Yeah.
five to
And
ten
it does
seconds.
help. And
Takes
it helps, but you
yeah,
have to do it over, like it'll help me for a few weeks. And then I find myself in that position again when I go, I need to do this again. And I should be doing it every day. I feel like in some aspects that the fact that I don't do it every day means that it is working because I'm not having to do it every day. I don't know.
Well, Nick, let me ask you something, Nick. Once you remove a bad photo from your phone, does it reappear? That bad
No,
photo?
it doesn't.
No.
No.
So once you remove the fear from your subconscious, it doesn't come back. Now,
So
maybe,
I haven't removed it.
well, maybe you're not embracing it. Maybe you're not actually feeling the fear. And see, these are parasites. So these parasites don't want you to remove that fear. Okay?
Mm-mm.
Now,
They need
there's,
it.
well, not only that, Nick, but what my teachers are telling me is you have compassion. Compassion is not a fear. There's nothing wrong with feeling compassion or love for someone. It's a it's a it's not an emotion. See, emotions control the soul. God feelings are an expression of the soul. So when you are feeling compassion towards your dog, that's not having that's there's nothing wrong with it. I can see a bird fly when I do these exercises, and when I see a bird fly, I can tear up. I can cry about a bird flying because I can feel what that bird is going through and so forth. So I identify with that bird. It doesn't mean I have anything wrong with me. So there's nothing wrong with feeling compassion for your dog, Nick. Okay, so don't
No,
feel
it's the fear that he's going to be gone. That I don't want to be in a position where like I'm just thinking about him dying. I want to enjoy the time that we have together. You know what I mean?
okay.
And that's the hardest part.
All right, then do this. Your conscious mind can hold only one. I was taught this when I was 12 years old. I was laying in bed and I thought there was a boogeyman under my bed or a boogeyman in my closet, and I couldn't sleep. And my teachers tell me that change your thought. Instead of thinking about something negative, think about a fun time in your life. Now, they didn't tell me about the conscious mind or the subconscious mind, but at the
Yeah.
age of 12, they told me to change my thoughts to something happy. And as soon as I went from thinking about a boogeyman under my bed to being at the town fair and being on the Ferris wheel and having a good time. And I was asleep in seconds. So, Nick, we would just say, change your thoughts. Instead of thinking that it's going to be gone, think about how much fun you're having with them.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's my goal. And that's the way I've like approached it. And like, let me, when I ask for, to have this fear or this, ailment, I call it like a disease removed from me. Please help me to remove this horrible thinking from my soul. Let me enjoy the time that we have, and I feel better when I do it. It does. It
Yeah,
it always helps,
yeah,
it's a hard thing, to realize that you're mortal. I didn't realize that I was mortal until I got hurt this last time. I was a dirt bike rider and I got hurt. Doctor'd patch me back up again and I'd be back on the bike, in a couple weeks. And, once I hit 30 years old and here I'm missing a hand and all of a sudden you're going, holy shit, it's all going to end someday. And it's not a great feeling to have when you first realize it. But once you do recognize it, it helps you to enjoy the things that you can.
Well, Nick, okay. Let's say that you're not going to die, Nick. All right. Now, in your mind, you think you're going to die one day?
No, I think that something within me is going to live on forever.
No, I didn't ask you that, Nick.
Okay. Go ahead, continue.
Nick, do you think maybe physically you're going to die one day?
Yes.
What age, Nick?
I would hope that I could make it to 80. I've done a lot of damage to my body. I did a lot of drugs and, I got electrocuted by a power line. So I would hope that I could make 80. That would be, a decent run for me, I think.
What about 1,000?
That'd be great. I'm not one of these guys who wants to die. I'd love to see what happens in the future. I'd love to see what happens.
Okay, Nick, did you have breakfast? Let's see. Did you have dinner yet?
No, not yet. After the podcast.
Okay. What are you going to have for dinner? Do you know?
Haven't decided yet. Maybe a steak.
Okay, you haven't decided. So when you decide, you will manifest what it is that you will decide, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you think you're going to die at 80, you will manifest that, Nick. Okay. Oh, I think I'll live to 80. Okay. A lot of people who die believe that when they reach retirement, their life is over. So they just sit back and they die. All right.
Yeah.
You don't see, the conscious mind will create whatever it is that you want to create. If you want to create steak for your dinner, you'll create steak. If you want to create an organic meal of something, you'll create that. So whatever your thinking is will create your reality. That's the purpose of the creative aspect of the conscious mind. The conscious mind, well, look, we got people going to the Mars, we're creating the internet, we create television, we create the cell phone. All those thoughts have to come from where? People tune in to I call it the universal mind or the universal internet, and you can just tap into that if you just ask about your challenge. If you have a challenge and you ask your higher self, how can I resolve this situation, and wait, the answer will come to you. Now this is how I started to learn to talk to my teachers. Now this Earth is a spiritual training school, and your spiritual teachers and your guardian angels cannot help you because you have free will. They cannot interfere with your life unless you ask for assistance. So, Nick, I can't tell you how to fix your arm. All right. I could say, hey, Nick, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? You're going to say, bug off. I can take care of myself. All right.
Oh,
So,
I'd love it if you could tell me how to fix my arm.
well, Nick, you know what? I did get a vision of you getting an artificial arm. Now,
That'd be great.
I don't know, but as I'm talking with you, and you talk about living to be 80.
Did it look like this?
Well, I don't know. but as I was talking with you and talking about your arm, I kind of saw you with an artificial arm. I wasn't going to say anything,
yeah.
But I think that probably you would get one. Okay, so you have one.
Yeah, it's a piece of junk. It's a piece of junk, but I have it.
All right. Well, they're always upgrading the models so forth and so forth.
The problem is with the arms is they're going to have to do a chip in the brain in order to make it do this type of stuff and make it feel and make it happen right away. And I'm not convinced that I'm going to be wanting one of those.
I've seen that where people use their thoughts to do that. Now, I don't know how they do it. I don't know if they put a chip in the person or how it does, but I have seen that demonstrated that people can use their thoughts to do that. In fact,
with this one, I flex my hand in certain positions. The hand's not there. So is that in your mind or in your arm or somewhere in between? So it is kind of that way. But it's taking signals from your muscles, not your brain. So your signals go from your brain, tell the hand to do this, and then it grabs the electrical signals from there. Someday they'll be able to put one here and one there, and it'll be able to do everything.
Nick, I saw last week on TV a person with a drone that could operate the drone with his thoughts. And
Yeah, I've seen that. It's cool.
and then he didn't have anything in his mind. He got someone else, not even knowing anything about that, and they demonstrated they could do the same thing. So why not have the capability of in your artificial arm to use your mind to control what you want to do? I think it's possible.
Mhm. Oh, they've done it. It's just getting it from DARPA to the prosthetist office. And like the DARPA version's millions of dollars and it's got to get its way into the market. And you know how that goes. But it is possible. They've done it. They
Yeah.
started doing it in 2012, actually.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we talked about the third dimension and the fifth dimension. There's a lot of corporations and political leaders and government officials that are still in the mindset of third dimension thinking, selfishness and greed and profit and money. And this will change. This will change eventually. And I think a big change is coming up in the future. I think with the election in the United States, I think, well, I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but I know we're in the golden age. And I know that I see corruption being exposed around the world. Little by little, corruption is being exposed, and more people are taking over that are disillusioned with their political leaders and so forth. So I think that
I see it too. I see it too.
yeah,
Like I like watching a lot of these cop videos where corrupt cops beating people up or, crazy people getting and the changes that have been made through body cameras and
okay.
YouTube have just been immense. Like I saw a cop get fired the other day and he didn't get fired. He got charged with something. He's like, I'm going to quit. It's not like the good old days. It's like with the good old days where you could just beat the shit out of people and nobody would know about it.
Exactly.
So yeah, like that is changing. Policing in America is changing in front of our eyes, which is crazy.
Well, let's look at the attempted assassination of President Trump.
Okay.
As soon as that happened, I knew it was an inside job. I knew
Had to be.
Everybody knows it was an inside job. And now it's being exposed how the FBI, the CIA, Secret Service is all in corruption. So that's being exposed. Little by little, as corruption's being exposed. And that's why I truly believe that President Trump will be the president in this election. And because there's the people, political leaders around the world want Trump to come in because they know of the corruption and how he handles things. And so we'll see what happens.
I thought the Mark Zuckerberg letter was very telling. Did you see that he wrote a letter saying,
Yeah.
hey, they pressured me. I'm sorry. To me, that's like, hey, we see the direction that things are going, and we're going to signal right now that we're going to turn in the opposite direction because we don't want this guy coming after us the day he gets into office.
Exactly.
Which he would do.
Exactly.
And if I was Trump, I would be signaling all over the place. Hey, Google, you better stop this BS with meddling with our elections right now because I'm going to win. And when I win, I am going to make it my mission to destroy you every day. And they would back off immediately. They go, okay, sorry, we tried and you called us.
Well, Trump's in a position where he can't do that. He can have Tulsi Gabbard do it, or Elon Musk do it, or JD Vance do it, or there's a Vivek. I like that guy Vivek.
Oh, Vivek's great. Vivek's my favorite. He's awesome.
I wanted him to be vice president. I did
too.
I wanted him to be vice president because he is an extremely smart, knowledgeable person, and he tells the truth.
Great instincts. He's a killer. The guy's just he's a badass. He's like you said, he's so smart. I wanted 4 years of Trump and 8 years of Vivek. That would have been great. JD Vance, I don't know. We'll see how he goes, but Vivek would have been the move for sure.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I was hoping for that, but that's okay. We'll see what happens.
So what do you think about what do you think about Trump's China policies? Like he's kind of a hawk. I'm not a China hawk. I think like it always bothers me when people are like, "Oh, they're gonna destroy us. They want to destroy the West." And it's like I was a drug addict and a drug dealer. As a drug dealer, you do not kill your best customer for a couple bucks. And to me, like that's the position that China's in. Why would they want to kill their best customer? Like everything they make gets shipped over here. We've got a great thing going. I don't know why there's all this BS about trying to, saber rattle with China.
China does not transport any military weapons outside of China. They don't have any troops outside of China. Their infrastructure is amazing. Any mountain in China, anybody can climb to the top of that mountain, regardless of what your age is. They have facilities to make it so people can enjoy the beauty of China. China's roads and fast trains and development is unbelievable. They work, when they're putting in a bridge or anything, they work 24/7, 3 shifts or 2 shifts to complete something as quickly as possible. In China, I've been here for 10 years. The streets are clean, no guns, no gangs. The police, you don't even notice the police. The police are traffic policemen. They don't bother you. Cars go crazy. People jaywalk. They allow that to happen. They're not restricted.
Road pirates.
They're not.
In America, our police are just road pirates. All they're really trying to do is shake you down for a couple bucks over speeding.
Well,
that type of shit happen there.
How they do it in China is they have cameras every place. And if you speed or make the wrong turn at the light, you get a notice that come and pay the fine, or else your license will be canceled. So that's how they monitor the traffic.
Yeah, and I'm not a fan of that type of stuff. I'm not a fan that you can't get a gun in China, but also you guys aren't pushing all this like everything on the rest of the world. You're just doing your thing and selling us great products for the most part. And like you can complain about America a lot because not only are we doing the most evil shit on the planet, but we're forcing it down everybody else's throat. We've got 400 something military bases around the world, which is just insane.
Exactly.
It's insane. We've never left Europe. We've never left Japan. Korea is still a disaster from the Korean War. Vietnam is still recovering. The Middle East is going to be a disaster for the next 50 years because of all this just horrible, evil stuff that we've done. It's disgusting. And like, hey, if you want to do things that I don't agree with in your country, fine. Just don't force me to do it,
In China here, not only me, but any citizen, if they want to travel or attend an event, they have to show their Chinese ID, and I have to show my passport. I can't take a bus, a local bus I can, or a taxi I can take. But if a long-term bus, a train ride, an airplane ride, not only me, but all the citizens have to show their Chinese ID or else they can't fly. If you don't show it, you can't fly. You can't travel. So there's no foreigners in China, illegal foreigners in China. No illegal foreigners in China, which makes it safe for all the Chinese citizens here. And that's why the streets
are safe. At Europe.
The streets are safe 24/7. I can walk out at 2 o'clock in the morning, take a walk, and not fear about anything. Nothing. So China has some very good policies. Now, what goes on at the highest level? I don't know. Doesn't bother the local citizens and so forth. Food is plentiful. Prices are very inexpensive. I just had an eye operation. I'm blind in one eye. And my good eye was going bad. I couldn't see. My glasses weren't working that I've had for 30 years. And I started where I couldn't see beyond 2 feet clearly. I could see far off in the distance, but not clearly. So I went to the
That
doctors
sucks.
here, and all the doctors I have been associated in China are lady doctors, and they are exceptional. So this lady doctor said, to fix your eye, we have to replace the crystal in your eye. We have to remove the lens, take out your old crystal, and inject a new crystal that is German made. And
Cool.
the procedure will take about a half an hour. So, Nick, I go into the hospital two Mondays ago. I'm live. They didn't put me to sleep. Um, they put me on the table, and I'm conscious through the whole thing. I can feel her cutting the lens, and there's a lot of lights and so forth, and movement. And 20 minutes later, she puts a patch on my eye, or maybe a half an hour later, puts a patch on my eye, and I had to leave it on for one day and return to her the next morning. Next morning, she took the patch off, and it was unbelievable. My sight was crystal clear. In fact, I put my old glasses on. I couldn't wear my old glasses. I could see crystal clear for a mile away. Now,
Wow.
my close vision, it says it takes 2 to 4 weeks for your eye to adjust to, and this is the same in America. Your eye takes 2 to 4 weeks for your mind and brain to adjust to focusing the new procedure.
Yeah.
So I'm in the process of focusing in. I wake up every morning amazed. But Nick, the doctor, so compassionate, understanding. They knew I was blind in one eye. They put me in a wheelchair. They put me in a special room because I was hot while I was waiting to make sure the room was air conditioned. They took care of me. And it wasn't just because I was a foreigner. It's just their compassion. And the price of the operation was less than $1,000 for me to
Wow.
go in.
That's wow.
Amazing. And it's
And here's just for some context here in America, I got my amputation done at the Mayo Clinic, which is the best hospital in the country, maybe the world, right? I was stuck in an old room, in like this old hospital building that had no central AC, really. It was hot as hell. It had no cell phone service, and just nothing but problems with the nurses. They don't want to give you any pain meds, and just a nightmare, an absolute nightmare at the Mayo Clinic.
they knew I was blind in my right eye. My wife was leading me around. The head doctor nurse said, get him a wheelchair and put him in an air conditioned room because I was standing in the hallway. And she came by, she says, why? I asked my wife, why is he standing here? She said, he's hot. She says, okay. Got me a wheelchair, put me in a room, turned the air conditioner on by myself uh, until I had to go through and do another check with her later on. Very compact. And that's how it's been throughout my visits to the hospital. And I just had to go back and have another visit with her. And you know what the charge was to visit her was 12 UNs, which is like $1.50 in American money
Wow.
to go to go see the doctor and pay cash for a visit to see her. And I was in and out of the hospital, and she saw me. My appointment was at 1. She saw me at 12:45. I had to take 2 more tests for her. I was out by 1:30. Paid $12. Well, $1.50 in American money, 12 UNs in Chinese money, and that's it. I go back in a month to see her again. It's
That's
like
awesome.
it's like
I love that. I love that. Like China was a very poor country, just within my lifetime. People were very poor, 20 years ago, and the amount of progress that they've made for their average citizen is incredible. You know,
they
compared to a lot of other countries who are kind of sucking on the American teat, like in Africa, India, they're not doing nearly as well. And like you said, with the building is just incredible. We can build in this country if we wanted to. We don't. They regulate everything. I grew up in Northern California. I lived in Cloverdale, which is 100 miles north of San Francisco. From Novato to Cloverdale was 2 lanes on each side forever. And when I was probably, I don't know, 10 years old, they decided we're going to make it 4 lanes. You know how long it took them to finish it? Like 25 years for 100 miles of road. It ended up costing, who knows how much more than the initial bid, because the way things work in America is you come in with a low bid for a government project, and then you take as long as you possibly can and keep jacking up the price. And it's just a disaster. And like you were watching just during COVID, the amount of hospitals that they were building, they would show these time lapse videos of, trucks coming in and out. And it's like, they're moving earth, they're building, they're doing this quick, and we could do that here in this country if we wanted to.
Well, in China, it's the government says do it and it's done. In the United States, it's like, oh, do we do it? Let's vote on it. Should we do this? Should we do that? There's no voting. Once the government says build a bridge, build a fast train, they just do it, and they put the people to work. So,
and that is kind of a flaw with central planning at some times. Like, they are making great things, but also you guys do have a couple ghost cities out there that nobody are living in.
Well, you know what? All right, let's talk about those. I know about the ghost cities. They have many ghost cities. And the ghost cities are inner China, okay? So, Nick, do you know about Nibiru?
No. Oh, Nibiru. Yeah. Planet X.
Yeah, Planet X, okay? What happens when Nibiru comes through, at the Antarctica, ice is over a mile high. Mm-hmm. So if there's any tilt in the earth, that water will melt. Now, what does that do? I know where I am right now. I'm at sea level. And Nibiru, if it comes through, water will rise 600 feet, which means that I couldn't survive in the city I am right now. So where would I have to go? I would have to go to inner China, to one of those ghost cities.
To the ghost cities. Oh, wow. That's interesting. Oh, I didn't think about that. That's very interesting.
Yeah, because they say that along the coast of all countries, the water will come in and the people are going to have to migrate off the coast and drown, all right, and move inward into the internal part of the country. So in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, do they know? I know the elite have built homes in the ground to protect them from Nibiru, and so forth.
New Zealand.
Yeah.
And just in case people are thinking that Nibiru is a conspiracy theory, it is not. Like, NASA is now, they're calling it Planet X or Planet 9, whatever they call it. And they were actually able to look at gravitational forces throughout the solar system and go, there's a massive body out there somewhere with a massive elliptical orbit. It's going to go way the hell out there. Maybe it's a dead star. I've heard that it could be a dead star, just a massive gas giant. But when that thing comes through, you better believe shit's going to get shooken up.
Well, they talk about 3 days of darkness in the Bible. Not in the Bible, but Edgar Casey and Nostradamus and other prophets talk about 3 days of darkness. And you figure, how can there be 3 days of darkness? Well, maybe
there's also 3 days of light in the Bible too. They say, and the sun shone for 3 days or something like that.
So what happens if a giant planet or sun or planet comes towards Earth and it takes a while between blocking the sun for 3 days as it moves past the sun, between the sun and the Earth? That would cause 3 days of darkness. So I don't know, but I just hope.
I didn't think about that. That's a very good point, and if maybe it's Nibiru, maybe it's an ash, like whatever the cycle is that causes these floods on these 11, 12,000 year timelines, the elites know about it. They're like, I heard somebody say recently have you noticed that politicians and the rich elite in America are spending money like there's no tomorrow, maybe it's because there's not.
Maybe not. I know that the elites are buying homes in New Zealand
Yep.
and Europe, but they say that what they're concerned about now is if they build a house in the ground, and I know many have done this, where it goes down to a deep level, that if the poles shift and there's an earthquake, they're going to bury themselves in the ground. So,
Yeah.
um,
They need to go up.
I know
They
you
need to
need.
start going up. That's why they're building SpaceX and Virgin. And yeah, they got to go up.
Yeah, yeah. So let's see. So the prayer to remove emotional parasites is it only takes 10 seconds, and everyone, I don't care what your fear is, you shouldn't be you shouldn't have any ill feelings towards anyone else, and if you do, you need to get rid of that feeling. Any fear. I know when kids are little, the parents will say, you're not intelligent, you're never going to amount to anything, you're too fat, you're too thin, you're not tall enough, and all these programming by a church and authority figures and governments places fears in a person that prevents them from vibrating at a higher frequency. Now, let me discuss two things. Now, Nick, I don't know how much time we have. How much time do we have?
I've got as much time as you want.
Okay.
We're at 55. We're at 55 minutes, but I can go as long as you want. I've got nothing going on tonight.
Okay. Well, quickly, Earth is a spiritual training school. Everybody on Earth was created in an image and likeness of God. Okay? So doesn't that make us a God?
I would agree with that.
An elephant has children. They're not going to be tigers. They're going to be baby elephants. So we're all created in the image and likeness of God. And all the characteristics of God are embedded in each soul. But you see, these characteristics are in their immature form. God feelings, emotions control the actions of the soul, where God feelings are feelings that are generated by the soul, by the God soul. So how does the soul has to learn to discipline and master these immature emotional feelings they have. So in other words, the feeling of anger is an emotion that controls the soul. The soul has to discipline that and master it and convert that energy to a feeling, to a God feeling of peace. Now, how this takes place is over time, the soul learns that when these emotions, that the soul's out of control, and the soul never wants to be out of control, where they have no control of these emotional things that are happening to them, yelling and screaming and throwing things and killing and abusing others, that they know they have to make a change, like you made a change in 2012. It was a realization that came to you. So these emotions are in your subconscious mind as immature emotions, just like the fears. So what happens, and this was proven to me on two occasions, once through an ayahuasca ceremony, and another time through a life experience, that when these immature emotions are activated, the soul has to not take any action at all. Because what causes the emotion to be activated is that emotion wants to make it from the subconscious mind to the conscious mind. When that emotion gets to the conscious mind, it becomes a God feeling. It's converted when it gets to the mind. To get from the subconscious mind to the conscious mind, it has to go find the right nerve pattern that goes, you've got millions of nerve patterns from the subconscious mind to the conscious mind. And so that emotion is searching for the right pattern to get to the conscious mind. And in its travel, it causes a feeling of frustration and so forth, and anger, and the soul wants to release it by yelling and screaming. And that's the worst thing the soul can do, is to release this frustration feeling by action. And the best thing it can do is just sit there and allow that emotional, immature feeling find the correct pathway to the brain. Now, it takes discipline to do this, and you need to be sitting down in a quiet mode so you're not disturbed. And that's why the lesson of Jesus in the garden, he sat there for a long time by himself because he was allowing the last part of his emotional nature to find the pathway to his brain so that he could finish his mission. Now, Jesus is not the only Son of God. We're all sons and daughters of God. Jesus was the example for all of us to say, okay, the things I do, you can do, but even greater. All right? So he's telling us that we can do what he did. When Jesus prayed, he didn't say, my Father. He said, our Father. All right?
Our Father.
So we are all God beings, and we're learning to become gods. Now, what causes us to have our life experiences? You know that your cell phone, wherever you go, the telephone company knows where you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the telephone company is smarter than God, the universal mind? The universal mind knows everything, where, how much knowledge we know, where our weaknesses are, and so forth. So they create life experiences for us to learn from our life experiences. Will we abuse someone else, or will we use compassion in dealing with someone else? So our life is controlled by the universal law of cause and effect. What you do to others will be done to you exactly in the same manner. So through our incarnations, we are conditioned to act a certain way. We know that it's wrong to steal, wrong to lie, wrong to kill, wrong to abuse, wrong to be dishonest. And how do we learn this? We have learned over time by the universal law of cause and effect that what you do to another will be done unto you. Now, once we get to the point where we are in a God-conscious mode and we become aware that every thought, word, and deed that we express, that we're responsible for, and we start living in a consciousness, in a God consciousness, then the universal law of creation influences our life because we get rewarded. If we're in alignment with the universal law of creation of harmony, balance, order, and unity for the good of all, then the universe knows what's in our hearts and knows what our dreams and desires are. They become a reality in our life. We get rewarded by allowing our dreams and desires to manifest in our life. And there's not much we have to do, because all we have to say is, geez, I want to do this. How do I do this? The idea comes and the resources come to us. And yet again, we're not thinking, oh, I want a car, or I want money, or I want a power position where I control people. We're thinking about our responsibilities of taking care of our family, taking care of our loved ones, being our responsibility to our employer, our responsibility to our community, our responsibility to our family and friends. When we have this consciousness, then our dreams and desires manifest, but our dreams and desires are to help others. They're not selfish dreams now. They're universal dreams that relate to the universal law of creation. So this is how we manifest our dreams and desires. Now, we tell you that the conscious mind can only hold one thought at a time. If you're in fear, you don't vibrate at the highest frequency of your being. In your DNA, which is in every cell of your body, are chromosomes and amino acids. And they have proved this, that when a person is happy and joyous, the chromosomes in the DNA are activated, and 90% of the amino acids are activated and vibrating at a high frequency. And when this happens, it's a vibrational signal to the universe that I'm in line with universal law of creation, of harmony, balance, order, and unity. And that's when the universal law of creation blesses the soul. Now, when the soul is in fear, doubt, abusive to others, selfish, stingy, the vibration of the DNA is less than 10% of the chromosomes and the amino acids in the cells, meaning that the soul vibrates at a very low frequency, which prevents the universal law of creation to assist the soul in manifesting their dreams and desires. And I see your friend there.
Yeah, he wanted up. He wanted to come and say hi.
I see he's very friendly. I see the tail going.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. He's my best friend. He's the man. This is Ozzy, named after Ozzy Osbourne, one of my favorites. Well, Tim, I think you've got a class to go teach. I bet your students love you. Do you ever like give them any of this cool information? Do they ever stop
Well,
after
what I
class and
do
say, "Hey
is
man,
I
give us
like
the
doing
deal"?
I don't like to have foulers. Okay, I don't want someone to foul me. I want someone to learn the teaching so they can teach themselves and share it with others, so that each person is. If I would take the power away from someone.
Sorry, he ripped my headphones out. I
That's
couldn't
okay.
hear any of what he said there. I'll
That's a,
listen to it later, though.
yeah. No, that's okay. I'll repeat it with shortly. The thing
Okay.
is that if I have followers, I would take their power away from them. What my
Mm,
mission is to empower people on who they are, and it's like if someone tied my shoes every day, I wouldn't know how to tie my shoes. I would be
yeah.
indebted to them. I don't want anyone indebted to me. I want people to understand who they are and to be responsible for their thoughts, words, and deeds, and to learn to let's all live together in harmony, balance, order, and unity for the good of all.
Yeah. You don't give a man a fish, you teach him how to fish, right?
Exactly.
That's the way it's done. Well, Tim, this was awesome. I loved talking with you. Let's do it again sometime.
Let's
Thanks again, everybody, for listening. Let's call it a night. Good night.
okay, bye bye. Visit us at www.thepathtooneness.com. Join the membership program for all the latest teachings from the Golden Ones. Visit us on Facebook and LinkedIn at thepathtooneness.com.